Under the eerie glow of the moon, Gareth faces the monstrous Plyberg, a grotesque fusion of reptilian and avian traits. The creature moves with terrifying speed, circling Gareth with its razor-sharp claws tearing into the ground. Gareth meets its lunge with a precise slash, but the Plyberg twists midair, evading the strike. It lands with a thunderous crash, launching another vicious assault. Gareth barely dodges, his stamina beginning to wane as sweat drips down his face. From the shadows, Luke and Tora watch in frozen fear. Luke grips his phone, his mind racing for a way to help. He had promised to live differently, to be someone who took action instead of standing by. Now, Gareth's life depends on him. Rummaging through his briefcase, he finds nothing useful until he remembers his phone's flashlight. The Plyberg is sensitive to light, but how would it react? Would it flee or attack? Knowing Gareth is growing weaker, Luke takes the risk. Climbing onto Tora's back, Luke activates his phone's flashlight and takes off. The bright beam cuts through the night, catching the Plyberg's attention. It screeches and immediately charges after them, drawn to the light. Tora speeds through the forest, dodging trees as Luke clings tightly to the reins. His heart pounds in terror, but he knows he must keep going. Gareth needs time to recover, and this is the only way to buy it. The Plyberg relentlessly pursues them, closing the distance with each powerful stride. Luke realizes the monster won't stop as long as the light is visible. With a deep breath, he makes a split-second decision. He switches off the flashlight. Darkness engulfs them as Tora swerves behind a large rock. The Plyberg halts, confused, sniffing the air. Luke holds his breath, praying it won't find them. After a tense moment, the beast finally turns away, slinking back into the shadows. Wasting no time, Luke and Tora rush back to Gareth. The knight, pale from blood loss, struggles to stay upright. Tora gently lifts him, and they return to the carriage. Luke fumbles with Gareth's medical supplies, holding the flashlight steady as Gareth cleans his wound. The antiseptic burns, but Gareth's hands remain steady, wrapping his leg tightly to stop the bleeding. As the tension eases, Gareth acknowledges Luke's bravery. This night has tested him, but he has proven himself. No longer just an observer in this world, he has stepped up, risking his life to save another. As they catch their breath, Luke feels a newfound sense of purpose. With Gareth, Tora, and his growing courage, he is ready to face whatever dangers lie ahead. The battle with the Plyberg had ended, leaving an eerie stillness. With Gareth's wound treated, the trio settled into a much-needed rest. As dawn broke, Gareth awoke first, the pain in his thigh reminding him of the previous night's ordeal. His bandage was soaked in blood, requiring immediate attention. With careful hands, he unwrapped it, enduring the sharp sting of torn flesh before applying a healing herb extract. Alchemy and botany were well understood in this world, with knowledge of medicinal plants passed down through generations. As he rebandaged the wound, he took a moment to appreciate the rare morning calm. Nearby, Luke and Tora slept soundly. Tora, however, soon stirred, his keen senses detecting Gareth's movements. The tiger stretched before padding off in search of water. Meanwhile, Gareth, unable to walk, crawled towards Luke, driven by the need to express his gratitude. Twice now, Luke had saved his life, first from the legendary Airdyke and again from the Plyberg. Gareth, a seasoned knight, knew how difficult it was to slay such creatures, and the realization of his own mortality weighed heavily on him. Reaching Luke, he whispered a heartfelt thanks, acknowledging the debt he could never fully repay. Luke awoke, meeting Gareth's gaze with a small smile. He asked about Gareth's wound, to which the knight responded with a mix of humor and gritted pain. Their bond had deepened, forged through adversity. As they spoke, Tora returned, his fur damp from a nearby stream. Sensing it was time to move, Luke packed their belongings while Gareth, limited by his injury, reluctantly let him take charge. Luke helped Gareth onto the carriage, securing him comfortably before attaching Tora to the harness. With everything in place, they set off for the city of Purewood. The road ahead was uncertain, but they were stronger together. The early morning sun cast long shadows as the carriage rolled forward, the rhythmic clatter of wheels contrasting with the tension of the past night. Gareth, lost in thought, gripped the reins, while Luke sat beside him, feeling both excitement and apprehension for what lay ahead. The dense forest gradually gave way to rolling hills, and a quiet camaraderie settled between them. Tora moved steadily, his ears twitching at the sounds of nature. Birds chirped, and a soft breeze rustled the leaves. The journey was long, but with each passing mile, Gareth and Luke's trust in one another grew. The city of Purewood loomed in the distance, a beacon of mystery and promise. Though danger still lurked in the unknown, they pressed forward, bound by a shared purpose and the determination to survive. The morning ride was quiet, the only sound the rhythmic clatter of the carriage wheels on the dirt road. Gareth leaned against the side, gazing at the scenery, while Tora trotted alongside. Luke, lost in thought, held the reins. Breaking the silence, Gareth asked, "What do you plan to do in Purewood, Luke?" Caught off guard, Luke hesitated. "I guess I'll try to find a merchant group heading to Virencia. Maybe Saint Cynthia can help me understand why I'm here." Gareth nodded but pressed further. "What if they're not leaving for months?" Luke had no answer. He considered performing street magic but feared drawing attention. "I don't know," he admitted before shifting the focus. "What about you?" Gareth, with pride, shared his plan. "Once my training is recognized, I'll serve as a full-time knight, guarding, training, patrolling. It's what I've worked for." "Sounds solid," Luke said, smiling faintly. "At least one of us has a plan." As they continued, Gareth suddenly posed a bold idea. "Luke, have you considered becoming Purewood's mage?" Luke frowned. "Why would I do that?" Gareth recalled his childhood, explaining how Mayor Kingsley believed special individuals were gifts from the gods, hoping one would come to Purewood to serve as a city mage, someone revered, like Saint Cynthia in Virencia. Luke, skeptical, shook his head. "That sounds like a huge responsibility. Besides, I don't have magic." He pulled out his phone. "This is what helped us." "Not me." Gareth flinched at the device but listened. "But you said you were a magician." Luke sighed, realizing his past miswording. "Where I'm from, a magician does tricks, not real magic." He tried to explain technology and illusion, concepts foreign to Gareth. Still, Gareth saw something unique in Luke. "Even if it's not magic, you think fast and help others. That's rare, too." Luke appreciated the sentiment but remained firm. "Thanks, but I just want to find my way home." Gareth let the topic rest, though his thoughts lingered. To him, a mage in Purewood would be invaluable. The city struggled against threats like the Plyberg and Airdyke, and knights alone had limits. A mage could tip the scales, offering healing and guidance. The idea filled him with purpose. Yet, he knew Luke's hesitation. People with special abilities were often revered but also feared. What if Purewood turned against Luke once they discovered his powers were mere tricks? Moreover, Luke valued his freedom, wary of being tied down to a role of endless duty. As the carriage rolled on, both men sat in contemplative silence, their paths intertwined yet distinctly separate. The morning light brightened the road ahead, a symbol of the uncertain journey awaiting them. Luke and Gareth found a small clearing by a brook to rest for the night. Luke, though inexperienced in camping, managed to set up the site and cook a meal. The satisfaction of learning something new gave him a sense of confidence. As he prepared food, memories of past meals from his world surfaced, making him momentarily nostalgic. The simple meal of meat and bread lacked the variety he once enjoyed, but the peaceful setting offered a kind of contentment. Despite the quiet, tension lingered from their earlier discussion about Luke becoming the city's mage. Their conversations had become short and direct, avoiding deeper topics. Luke, determined to break the awkwardness, decided to show Gareth his version of magic, sleight of hand and illusions. With a briefcase full of tricks, he performed simple coin and card tricks, demonstrating the principles of misdirection. Gareth, initially skeptical, grew fascinated and engaged, asking questions and attempting to understand. As Luke revealed the secrets behind his tricks, the gap between their perspectives narrowed. Gareth began to see Luke's skills not as true magic but as a unique talent. The atmosphere lightened, and they shared laughs, dissolving the earlier strain in their relationship. When the fire burned low, Luke addressed the lingering question. "Are you still set on me becoming the city's mage?" he asked. Gareth, without hesitation, affirmed his stance. Instead of frustration, Luke felt curiosity. Why? Gareth explained that the city of Purewood was the last checkpoint before the unknown, a dangerous, monster-infested region to the east. Other kingdoms viewed the city as expendable and refused aid, leaving only the Empire of Virencia to send limited support. Gareth had trained as a knight to protect the city and someone dear to him. A mage, he believed, could change everything. With one, the city might evolve into a kingdom, gain allies, and become a safer place for its people. Luke was stunned by this revelation. Until now, he had focused solely on his own survival, barely considering the larger struggles of this world. Gareth, on the other hand, was driven by duty, his entire purpose tied to defending the city. Luke realized that while he wanted to help others, he feared the weight of responsibility. As the night deepened, both men sat in thoughtful silence. Gareth was committed to his cause, and Luke found himself at a crossroads. The city needed protection, but could he take on such a role? For now, the future remained uncertain, the flickering fire between them reflecting the delicate balance of their intertwined fates. Luke and Gareth spent the night in tense silence, the weight of their conversation lingering. The fire crackled softly as the moon bathed their campsite in a cool glow. Sleep eluded them, their minds preoccupied with Gareth's plan. "I don't have magic, Gareth. How can I pretend to be a mage?" Luke finally asked. "You just have to act like one," Gareth replied. Luke sat up, frustrated. "That's dangerous. If people find out, won't I be executed?" Gareth acknowledged the risk but assured Luke he had allies, Father Wingate and Mayor Kingsley, who, once convinced, could sway others. Gareth promised to help Luke make the act convincing, ensuring his protection. Luke had always performed magic tricks alone. The idea of working with a partner was foreign but intriguing. He had dreamed of performing grand illusions, and while this deception was different, it sparked something within him. "You wouldn't be alone," Gareth said. "We'd be a team." Luke hesitated. "But it's not real." "People believe what they see," Gareth countered. "And this isn't about fame, it's about protecting a city." His conviction chipped away at Luke's doubts. Though uneasy, Luke saw the potential. As the fire died down, both men fell into a restless sleep. By dawn, Gareth stirred first, wincing at his injured leg. Tora stretched and wandered off to find water. Luke, exhausted, clung to sleep, frustrated that his phone still wouldn't display the time. He had relied on technology in his old life, but here, he had no such luxury. They packed up in silence, neither addressing the conversation, yet both aware of its significance. As they resumed their journey, the city of Purewood drew closer. The road ahead, lined with dense forests, stretched beneath the golden morning light. Breaking the silence, Gareth asked, "Luke, what tricks can you do with a partner?" Luke hesitated before pulling out his phone and showing old performance videos. A levitation act caught Gareth's attention, and Luke explained the hidden support and misdirection that made it look real. "It looks so real," Gareth admitted, impressed. "That's the art of it," Luke said. "People believe what they see." Despite enjoying sharing his tricks, Luke worried about his phone's battery. He had no way to charge it, making him uneasy about losing his last link to his past world. Gareth, eager to learn, absorbed every detail. Sometimes, the illusion of safety and strength is just as important as the real thing, he mused. Luke fell silent. Could an illusion truly protect a city? He had only ever used his skills to entertain or survive, never to inspire hope. As the carriage rumbled on, both men remained deep in thought. Luke wrestled with the fear of being exposed, while Gareth saw potential in his deception. The road to Purewood stretched ahead, uncertain yet full of possibilities. As Luke and Gareth rode onward, they approached the towering fortress of Edenhide, its stone walls rising high, adorned with indistinct flags. Gareth explained that Edenhide was a stronghold of the anti-Noirist faction, who despised the Noirists of Purewood and refused to aid them against monstrous threats. Though Edenhide was powerful and well fortified, its inhabitants were prejudiced against Purewood's people, making travel through its territory dangerous. As they neared the fortress, their carriage suddenly broke down. The right rear wheel snapped, causing the carriage to tilt violently. Both Luke and Gareth were thrown to the ground, Gareth letting out a scream of pain as his injured leg took the brunt of the impact. Tora, their tiger companion, panicked from the accident, struggling against his harness. Gareth, despite his pain, urged Luke to free Tora first before tending to him. Luke quickly unfastened the harness, allowing Tora to calm down, then rushed back to Gareth to re-bandage his wound, which had begun bleeding again. With their immediate injuries managed, Luke examined the damage. The wheel was completely broken, and with Gareth's leg in poor condition, traveling further would be impossible without repairs. Gareth suggested that Luke ride Tora to the nearby village of Pathaven to find a man named Milton, who could help. Though Luke hesitated to leave Gareth alone, Gareth assured him he could handle himself and insisted that Luke go before nightfall. Luke reluctantly mounted Tora and set off toward Pathaven, following Gareth's directions. As he rode, he reflected on Gareth's warnings about Edenhide. The deep-seated animosity between the anti-Noirists and Noirists made seeking help from the fortress impossible. The people of Purewood had been abandoned and scorned, despite their proximity to such a powerful stronghold. The journey was swift, thanks to Tora's speed. As the dense forest gave way to rolling fields, Pathaven came into view, a modest village with scattered homes and farms. Luke hurriedly asked for Milton, explaining their predicament to the villagers. One directed him to an older man with a rugged demeanor. Luke explained Gareth's situation, and Milton quickly gathered supplies and enlisted help from the villagers. Luke felt a wave of relief knowing that help was secured. Now, he only needed to return to Gareth before anything else went wrong. As the villagers prepared to head out, Luke remained anxious, knowing that Edenhide's looming presence was a reminder of the dangers and challenges still ahead. Luke rides on Tora amid a procession of Pathaven villagers, each mounted on tigers, a spectacle that still amazes him despite his growing familiarity with this extraordinary world. Their mission is twofold: to repair the damaged carriage and to assist Gareth, who was left struggling after the previous accident. As they near the site where Gareth had been left, Luke is startled by the sight of Gareth standing, though with difficulty, in front of a group of men clad in imposing silver armor. These men, accompanied by two massive elephants, are the notorious guards of Edenhide. Their leader jeers and mocks Gareth's condition, riding in with arrogance as they patrol the alternate road that bypasses the hostile fortress. Gareth explains that these guards harass travelers from Purewood because of the bitter enmity between the anti-Noirists of Edenhide and the Noirists of Purewood, a feud rooted in deep-seated prejudice that forces Purewood's people to seek alternate routes for safety. Meanwhile, the Pathaven villagers, led by Milton, quickly set to work repairing the carriage with skill and determination. As they labor, Milton expresses genuine concern for Gareth, whose injured leg continues to bleed despite fresh bandages. Gareth insists that they must press on and head straight to the city of Purewood rather than risk further humiliation or conflict with the Edenhide guards. Though Luke is reluctant to leave Gareth alone, Gareth reassures him that he can manage on his own. With a heavy heart, Luke mounts Tora, who carries him swiftly toward the nearby village of Pathaven to secure additional assistance. During the journey, Luke reflects on the deep-seated hostility between Edenhide and Purewood, realizing that the tension extends far beyond territorial disputes. It is a legacy of prejudice that endangers Purewood's people. Despite his anxiety, Luke's resolve grows stronger as he contemplates the responsibility he now bears, not only to save Gareth but also to help protect his newfound home. When the villagers complete the carriage repairs and bid their farewells, Luke and Gareth resume their journey. Traversing winding roads that shift from rolling hills to denser forests, the landscape mirrors the isolation and challenges ahead. With each mile, Luke's determination to overcome adversity deepens, and though the ominous shadow of Edenhide lingers, their path forward is fueled by cautious hope and unwavering resolve. After cresting the final hill, the city of Purewood spread out before them in all its modest glory. Gareth's heart swelled with nostalgia at the sight of sturdy wooden palisades, time-worn stone buildings, and narrow, winding streets that echoed with familiar sounds of daily commerce and community life. To Gareth, every detail stirred deep memories of home, while Luke, a newcomer to this world, marveled at the unique charm and vitality of the bustling town, where vendors called out their wares and children played in the alleys. The city's wooden walls, marked by years of repair, stood as steadfast guardians protecting a community that thrived despite hardship. Beyond the walls, an eclectic mix of thatched rooftops and modest stone structures spoke of a people resourceful and united, even if Purewood was smaller than the towering metropolises of Luke's past. The air was thick with the aroma of fresh-baked bread, roasting meats, and the earthy scent of tilled soil, mingling with less pleasant odors from livestock and a nearby sluggish river. Despite these, the overall atmosphere exuded resilience and hope. As they approached the city gates, familiar faces among the guards greeted Gareth with respectful recognition. The carriage rolled through the gates, and soon the travelers were immersed in the lively rhythm of Purewood. The market square bustled with activity, stalls overflowed with produce and handmade goods while townsfolk haggled and exchanged greetings. It wasn't long before a distinguished figure in knightly armor stepped onto the road, a man known as Sir Carrick. His welcoming smile and firm handshake expressed gratitude toward Luke for saving Gareth in past perils. Concern flashed in his eyes as he noted Gareth's bandaged leg, and he quickly inquired after its state. Sir Carrick then guided them toward a modest clinic. Inside, Dr. Noble and a team of diligent nurses attended to Gareth's wound with care, carefully unwrapping old bandages, cleaning the injury with herbal extracts, and applying fresh wraps. The orderly, compassionate treatment provided a welcome reprieve after their arduous journey. Throughout, Sir Carrick's steady presence reinforced the bonds of loyalty and the safety of home. With Gareth's injury tended and spirits lifted, Luke and Gareth prepared to continue their journey. Stepping back into the bustling streets of Purewood, they found that the city's modest beauty and close-knit community promised not only a return to familiarity for Gareth, but also a new beginning for Luke. Reflecting on their long and challenging trek, both men recognized that despite the divisions and dangers of their past, they were now united by a shared resolve to protect Purewood and embrace the promise of a better future. The Promised City, unpretentious yet full of heart, symbolized hope, camaraderie, and the fresh start that lay ahead. After their visit to the clinic, Luke and Gareth made their way toward the castle of Purewood, guided by Sir Carrick. As they navigated the city's streets, Luke questioned whether the structure before them truly qualified as a castle. While it possessed turrets and fortified walls, it lacked the grandeur he expected. Gareth explained that Purewood's castle prioritized function over aesthetics, serving as a symbol of the city's aspirations for a higher status in the future. Upon arrival, Sir Carrick tended to Tora and the carriage while Luke ensured his most valuable possessions, his phone and briefcase, remained hidden. Inside the castle, Luke took in the surroundings, noting its simple yet welcoming design. Warm wooden beams supported stone walls adorned with tapestries, and the air carried a faint herbal scent. Gareth, despite his injury, seemed uplifted to be home, warmly greeted by familiar faces as they passed through the corridors. The two entered the common room, a space used for gatherings, where Sir Carrick soon joined them, confirming Tora was in good hands. He also assured Luke that his belongings would be safely delivered. As the evening settled, the castle's atmosphere shifted with preparations for the night. Luke, feeling a sense of stability for the first time in this new world, allowed himself to relax. Gareth then led Luke to the barracks, which were connected to the castle by a narrow, dimly lit alleyway. Inside, soldiers busied themselves with weapon maintenance and quiet conversations. The disciplined yet friendly atmosphere contrasted with the bustling city beyond. Gareth guided Luke to his room, a simple space with a modest bed, a small table, and an open window carved into the stone wall. Despite its simplicity, the room reminded Luke of his childhood, stirring memories of solitude and survival. As knights arrived with Gareth's belongings, one, Aidan, welcomed him back and provided updates. Father Wingate, the city's spiritual leader, was at the cathedral, while Mayor Kingsley was occupied elsewhere. Gareth intended to seek them out, as they would be key in helping Luke find a place to stay. Though unsure of where he would sleep, Luke appreciated Gareth's support, aware that his lack of money limited his options. With their next steps planned, the two rested in the barracks, surrounded by the familiar sounds of soldiers. Luke, despite his uncertainties, felt a growing connection to Gareth and a newfound determination to adapt to this world. He no longer faced the unknown alone. As they prepared to meet Father Wingate, Luke realized that, for the first time, he was beginning to carve out a place for himself in this unfamiliar land. Luke sits quietly in his barracks room, peering through a small window opening when Gareth finally speaks up. He asks if Luke will accompany him to meet Father Wingate, and with nothing better to do, Luke agrees. The two then set off toward the cathedral, which lies outside the castle's fortified walls on the outskirts of the city of Purewood. Gareth's injured leg forces them to walk, giving Luke a chance to fully experience the city. As they stroll along the cobblestone streets, the vibrant life of Purewood unfolds before them, vendors loudly advertising their wares, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with roasting meats, and the sounds of children playing in narrow alleys. The modest, time-worn buildings, with weathered stone facades and intricate wooden details, tell the story of a community both rooted in history and striving for a better future. Arriving at the cathedral, Luke is struck by its humble yet reverent atmosphere. Despite its grand name, the structure is no larger than a typical church. Its stone walls are adorned with simple stained glass that casts colorful patterns on the floor, and the soft glow of flickering candles fills the quiet interior. Gareth gently opens the heavy wooden doors, and they step inside, where the calm, cool air and the faint scent of incense instantly provide a sense of solace. Inside, they meet Sister Maria, who warmly embraces Gareth and introduces Luke as his friend. The two are then led through the cathedral's corridors lined with modest religious artifacts to a secluded room where Father Wingate, an older man with a kind smile, sits absorbed in his book. Upon their arrival, Father Wingate extends a sincere welcome, shaking Luke's hand and making him feel like a valued guest. Their quiet moment is briefly interrupted when a group of exuberant children burst into the room, joyfully calling Gareth Big Brother and peppering Luke with curious questions about his striking blonde hair and origins. With gentle authority, Sister Maria ushers the children away, and soon they are invited to join the communal dinner. In the spacious dining room lit by lanterns, the warmth of shared conversation and the humble hospitality of the community infuse Luke with a newfound sense of belonging. As the day winds down, Luke reflects on his journey, on how, despite all the challenges and the strangeness of this world, he has begun to find a home in Purewood. Surrounded by old friends like Gareth, and embraced by the kindness of Father Wingate and Sister Maria, Luke feels hopeful about the future and determined to face the challenges that lie ahead. Sister Maria set the table with freshly finished dishes as the children began to sing, their clear voices filling the room with a sweet, uplifting melody. Their gratitude song, a cherished tradition of the orphanage, celebrated every blessing, from the food they shared to the loving hands that prepared it. Gareth joined in, his deep, resonant voice harmonizing with the children's innocent chorus as they recited verses of thankfulness for shelter, warmth, and the love that surrounded them. Although Luke was initially bewildered by this ritual, unfamiliar with its words, he soon found himself humming along, gradually feeling the embrace of community and the tender unity that the song invoked. As the final notes of the song faded, the room fell into a gentle, comfortable silence. Father Wingate, though not singing, beamed with heartfelt gratitude, and Sister Maria smiled warmly as she placed the dishes on the table. The meal then began in earnest amid the cheerful chatter, clinking utensils, and laughter that gradually filled the space. Luke, seated between Gareth and a curious little girl whose bright eyes fixated on his distinct blonde hair, absorbed every detail. He remarked softly on the beauty of the song, a sentiment that Gareth explained was meant to remind everyone of the simple yet profound blessings in their lives, a ritual that made them feel at home no matter where they were. As the meal progressed, Luke savored each bite of the stew or rich, tender dish spiced perfectly, reminiscent of the estafados he once dreamed of during his days as a street magician. His astonishment grew when he learned that the stew was made from lizard meat, a revelation that caused his spoon to slip and clatter on the stone floor. The sudden noise drew concerned looks from Sister Maria, who quickly reassured him with a kind offer of a replacement spoon from a nearby boy. Despite the shock of his discovery, Luke's palate confirmed that the dish was delicious, and the warmth of the gathering began to ease his long-held loneliness. Throughout the evening, as children helped clear the table and the communal spirit of the orphanage filled the room with gentle laughter and shared stories, Luke felt a deep, stirring sense of belonging. He listened intently as Gareth recounted memories of past gatherings and how these moments of gratitude forged bonds among them. In that humble setting, amid the soft glow of candlelight and the tender murmur of reunited friends, Luke finally experienced a taste of the community he had longed for. Gratitude flowed not only through the song but also through the heartfelt interactions, leaving him with a hopeful promise of new beginnings and a renewed desire to cherish every small blessing that life in the city of Purewood had to offer. A place for the night, Luke and Gareth leave the cathedral and face the pressing concern of where Luke will stay. Luke confides his worry about having no place to sleep and, with no money or accommodation of his own, Gareth suggests they speak with Father Wingate. They return to the secluded room where they first met the kind priest, who greets them warmly. Gareth explains that Luke is welcome to stay, as there are spare beds in the orphanage. Alternatively, Father Wingate even offers his own room, promising to sleep with the children instead. Luke, relieved, thanks the priest and agrees to the arrangement. Still determined to accompany Gareth despite his own fatigue, Luke insists on walking with him so that Gareth's injured leg isn't left unattended. As they leave the cathedral, the cool evening air and softly lit lanterns transform the city streets of Purewood into a scene of gentle quiet. On foot, Luke discovers new details about the city's character: the sound of vendors, the mingled scent of wood smoke and blooming flowers, and the close-knit ambience of narrow alleys that contrast sharply with his earlier carriage ride. Gareth's steady pace and cautious steps highlight the blend of nostalgia and pragmatic resilience in his return home. Reaching the barracks, Gareth expresses his gratitude to Luke for his company, and as they prepare to part ways for the night, Luke leans in to whisper his secret about his magic abilities. Gareth reassures him that he understands these tricks are clever illusions rather than genuine magic and promises to keep Luke's secret safe, even though he still entertains the idea of making Luke the city's mage someday. This exchange eases Luke's anxiety, leaving him with a sense of relief and belonging. Soon after, Luke returns to the cathedral where Father Wingate awaits him by the main entrance. The priest leads him along dimly lit corridors, explaining the layout of the orphanage and showing Luke where he can rest. Although the room is simple, a small, cozy space with several beds and an open window that brings in cool, fresh air, it evokes in Luke a bittersweet memory of his childhood sanctuary amid chaos. Despite the lies he must tell about his origins, Luke feels genuine gratitude for the kindness and acceptance extended to him. As Father Wingate leaves, Luke reflects on how rapidly his life has changed. From wandering alone and hiding his secrets to now finding comfort in a community that offers him shelter and hope, he realizes that despite his unresolved questions and the burden of his past, he is, after all, just a normal human trying to navigate a strange new world. For tonight, he decides, rest is essential, for without it, he cannot face the challenges that lie ahead. In the quiet of the evening, Sister Maria set the table with freshly prepared dishes, and as the last dish was placed, the children began to sing. Their voices, clear and sweet, filled the room with a traditional gratitude song, a ritual cherished at the orphanage before every meal. The song's gentle melody praised the food, the loving care of those who prepared it, and the blessings bestowed upon them. Gareth, with his deep and reassuring tone, joined in, harmonizing with the children and evoking a sense of nostalgia and belonging. Although initially bewildered by the ritual, Luke soon found himself humming along, even if he didn't know every word. The children, exuberant and inquisitive, watched him with wide-eyed admiration as they celebrated heroes from legendary tales, stories of knights like Sir Carrick that had long been a source of inspiration among them. After the song, a calm silence settled over the room, the soft echo of their voices lingering in the air. Father Wingate, standing quietly in the background, smiled warmly, his expression conveying both pride and gentle approval. Sister Maria continued to serve the meal, and soon the lively chatter resumed as the children eagerly returned to their seats. Luke, seated between Gareth and a particularly curious little girl, observed the scene with a mix of amusement and wonder. The children peppered him with questions about his striking blonde hair and origins, their innocent curiosity lighting up the room. Although initially hesitant, Luke answered in kind, finding solace in their straightforward affection. As the meal progressed, the table buzzed with the clinking of utensils, laughter, and animated conversation. The hearty porridge, filled with tender bits of fruit and a hint of spice, and the crispy, savory pastries provided a culinary warmth that was a marked contrast to the bland fare of Luke's past travels. The communal spirit was palpable, even though the song of gratitude was not sung again. The ritual of silent thanks pervaded the meal, uniting everyone in a shared moment of appreciation. For Luke, the simple act of eating with these children and listening to their stories stirred a deep sense of belonging, a stark departure from his lonely, transient past. When the meal ended, the children helped clear the table, their voices softening into a chorus of goodnights as they prepared for sleep. In that moment, Luke felt the comforting embrace of community and the promise of new beginnings. Surrounded by the warmth of Sister Maria, Father Wingate, Gareth, and the lively orphanage, he experienced a rare, peaceful interlude. Though his journey was far from over and many uncertainties still loomed, the genuine care and simple traditions of this place filled him with hope. He realized that here, among these kind souls, he had found not just shelter, but a home where gratitude and unity reigned, easing the burdens of his past and lighting a path toward a more hopeful future. At Purewood's Cathedral, after the meal had ended, the children lined up with palpable excitement for their day of work. Father Wingate led them out, and as they formed neat rows, Luke quietly asked Sister Maria where they were headed. She explained that the children were being sent to help plant vegetables in the fields since the harvest had been cleared. The farmers, who shared a mutually beneficial arrangement with the cathedral, needed extra hands. The work wasn't limited to vegetables. The girls planted flowers that not only beautified the fields but also protected the crops by warding off pests and attracting bees for honey. Sister Maria added that while such activities were arranged on special occasions, the children often engaged in various tasks, from cloth making and restoration projects to singing practice and even assisting at wedding ceremonies, instilling responsibility and fostering community spirit. She recalled how Gareth, too, had been deeply involved in these endeavors, learning skills like sewing that contributed to his versatility. Intrigued, Luke agreed to join Sister Maria on a tour of the fields. Together, they wandered through Purewood's winding streets, absorbing the city's charming simplicity, vendors calling out wares, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with wood smoke, and children laughing in narrow alleys. Their path led east to a serene stream crossed by a sturdy stone bridge that connected the bustling town center with the rural outskirts. There, a friendly farmer named Mr. Ivory greeted Sister Maria warmly and introduced himself to Luke. Mr. Ivory explained how crop rotation maintains soil fertility and how certain flowers serve to repel pests while attracting beneficial insects, underscoring the deep interdependence between the people and the land. As they reached the fields, Luke marveled at the sight of children diligently working among rows of crops. Along the way, he noticed panthers lounging in a pen, a vivid reminder that in Purewood, even creatures traditionally seen as fierce predators were reared as part of a self-sufficient farming system. Mr. Ivory explained that, uniquely, male tigers like Tora were trained as steeds, while females were valued for their milk, as their meat was considered tough and bland. The tour opened Luke's eyes to the harmonious, purposeful life of Purewood's community. Despite feeling like an outsider, he began to sense a deep connection to this place, a stark contrast to his former isolated life. The children's day of work, filled with learning and cooperation, symbolized the unity and resilience of the community. In that moment, Luke found renewed respect for the simple, sustainable lifestyle of Purewood and a growing desire to be part of this nurturing, interconnected world. Luke joins a group of boys working in the fields after some encouragement from Ivory. They are planting carrots, and Ivory patiently guides Luke through the process. Initially unsure, Luke soon finds the task calming and fulfilling. The physical work and companionship of the children bring him an unfamiliar but welcome sense of belonging. As he plants the seeds, he reflects on his painful past, his parents' neglect, their tragic suicides, and the violence that shaped his early life. However, amidst the warmth of Purewood, those painful memories seem less overwhelming. The children treat Luke as one of their own, offering encouragement and laughter. Ivory notices Luke's growing confidence and reassures him that he is doing well. Luke, touched by the kindness of the people around him, starts to understand the deeper meaning behind their work. It's not just about planting crops but about building a supportive community. For the first time in years, he experiences a sense of purpose. By noon, they finish planting, and a woman calls them for lunch. At a nearby well, they wash off the dirt and sweat before heading to the dining area, where a feast awaits. Farmers' wives have prepared a meal of fresh vegetables, bread, cheese, and exotic meats, including roasted mongoose. Luke hesitates but eventually tries it, finding it surprisingly delicious. Ivory reminds him of the tiger milk he had promised earlier. Expecting an unpleasant taste, Luke is surprised to find it rich and slightly sweet. During the meal, Father Wingate raises a toast to hard work and good company, and everyone joins in. Luke feels a growing sense of connection to the people around him. He realizes that Purewood, once just another stop in his journey, could become his home. As lunch ends, the group from the cathedral prepares to leave. Farmers load crates of surplus food onto a carriage as a gift for the cathedral. To Luke's amazement, a large tiger is harnessed to pull the carriage. While he had seen tigers used as mounts before, watching one used for transport was another testament to the unique lifestyle of the people of Purewood. The journey back to the cathedral is lively, filled with cheerful chatter among the children. Luke walks alongside them, glancing back at the fields with pride. The work had been hard, but the experience was rewarding in ways he had never imagined. The city of Purewood, once foreign and distant, now feels like a sanctuary. With Father Wingate, Sister Maria, and the children around him, Luke starts to believe that he has found a place where he truly belongs. Luke struggles with his physical limitations while unloading supplies at the cathedral, realizing his lean frame is a result of his hard past. Despite this, he pushes himself to help, witnessing the children's teamwork and strength. Hal, the elderly farmer, easily handles heavy crates, impressing Luke. Once the supplies are stored, Hal departs with his tiger-drawn carriage, leaving Luke with a sense of accomplishment and growing belonging. With free time before nightfall, Luke decides to visit Gareth at the barracks to check on him and seek advice. Sister Maria, already anticipating his visit, hands him a wooden container filled with food for Gareth. Luke, touched by her thoughtfulness, sets off, observing the peaceful evening scenery of the city. The sight of the river and the working mill reinforces the community's harmony and resilience. At the barracks, Luke finds Gareth resting with his injured leg elevated. Gareth is pleased to see him and gratefully accepts the food from Sister Maria. As they eat, Luke brings up their previous discussion about the Empire of Virencia, seeking guidance on how to find people traveling there. Gareth advises him to visit the town's tavern, where a notice board holds various requests, including potential travel groups. If no postings are available, Luke will need to ask around and network with travelers. Understanding that money will be essential for his journey, Gareth gifts Luke a small pouch containing silver and gold coins as a token of gratitude for saving his life twice. Initially hesitant to accept, Luke ultimately takes it, acknowledging his need to embrace change and accept help. As Luke prepares to leave, Gareth reassures him that he has support in Purewood, regardless of the path he chooses. Encouraged, Luke returns to the cathedral, finding Father Wingate and Sister Maria waiting for him. He informs them about Gareth's well-being but omits his plans for Virencia. Father Wingate expresses gratitude for Luke's kindness toward Gareth, reinforcing that he is valued and supported. As Luke retires to his room, he reflects on the journey ahead. Though uncertainties remain, he feels more determined than ever. With the newfound support of his friends, he is ready to take the next step toward discovering the truth about his existence in this world. That evening, as darkness settled, Luke approached the boys' room to retire for the night. Opening the door, he found the same lively group from the previous night, now wide awake and gathered around, still in their beds and on the floor. The boys immediately surrounded him, calling him Big Brother Luke with excitement. One boy shouted for him to join their conversation about the day's activities, especially their work in the fields earlier. Luke smiled and admitted that planting was both hard work and fulfilling. Curious to learn more about them, Luke asked the boys to introduce themselves. One by one, they presented their names and ages: Thomas, the eldest at 14, Peter at 13, Samuel at 12, Henry at 11, Andrew at 10, Benjamin at 9, and finally, little Daniel at 8. As they introduced themselves, Luke noted the contrast between their dark hair and his own striking blonde, which made him feel even more like an outsider, yet their warm greetings quickly dispelled that feeling. After the introductions, the conversation flowed naturally. The boys eagerly discussed their morning work, joking about their boundless energy while Luke shared his experiences of planting, describing how the simple act had brought him unexpected joy. Their chatter and laughter filled the room, creating an atmosphere of camaraderie and belonging. The children's inquisitive nature led them to ask questions about Luke's experiences and even about magic, a topic that resonated deeply given his own secret. When one of the older boys asked if he believed in magic, Luke admitted that he did and mentioned his plans to visit the Empire of Virencia to meet Saint Cynthia. This revelation filled the boys with admiration and excitement, and soon they all began sharing their own dreams, becoming knights like Gareth, healers, farmers, craftsmen, or even explorers. The room buzzed with youthful enthusiasm as the boys discussed their aspirations, their voices mingling with playful teasing and genuine hope. The simple act of sharing their dreams helped Luke feel a profound connection to them, a connection he had long missed in his lonely past. The children's laughter and the heartfelt conversation brought him warmth, slowly easing the scars of his difficult upbringing. Before long, Sister Maria's call for dinner broke the spell. The boys hurried out, and Luke followed them to the dining area, where the communal meal had already begun. As they sat together at the long table with Father Wingate, Sister Maria, and the other children, Luke felt a deep sense of belonging. Their shared gratitude and the lively, friendly atmosphere made him realize that despite his mysterious origins and the secrets he carried, he had finally found a home among these kind, spirited souls. That night, as the children drifted off to sleep and Luke tucked himself into bed, he felt at peace, ready to face the challenges of tomorrow with the support of his new family. With the first light of dawn filtering through the corridors of the cathedral, Luke forces himself awake despite the lingering grogginess. Determined to fulfill his mission, he washes away sleep in the cold lavatory and steps into the quiet hallway, where Father Wingate greets him warmly. The kind priest pulls out a small parchment and sketches a simple map, marking the route to the local tavern with the word tavern written in Iatspic. Grateful for the guidance, Luke accepts the map and heads out into the awakening streets of Purewood. Outside, the city comes alive with the aroma of fresh bread, the murmur of shopkeepers, and the playful laughter of children. Luke follows the winding paths as described on the map until he reaches the tavern, its sign confirming he's in the right place. Inside, the dimly lit tavern buzzes with early morning activity, and Luke finds the notice board cluttered with various announcements. However, he quickly realizes that while he can speak and understand Iatspic in conversation, he cannot read its written form. Frustration mounts as he struggles with the unfamiliar script. Just as Luke is about to give up, a friendly woman behind the bar offers help. She examines the board and informs him that there's currently no group planning to head directly to the Empire of Virencia. Instead, she mentions a party set to leave Purewood for the city of Balmoral in a season's time for trade business, a route that might later lead westward to Virencia. This revelation gives Luke a viable path forward, though it means he must first secure work and save money, as he can no longer depend solely on the charity of the cathedral. Hesitant but determined, Luke asks about the cheapest drink available, knowing he has only 1 gold coin and 3 silver shillings. The woman, intrigued by his foreign appearance and story of lost memories and being brought here by Gareth, graciously offers him a complimentary drink. Over a mug of beer, she listens as Luke briefly explains his situation enough to spark her sympathy without revealing too much. Her kindness renews his resolve. Leaving the tavern with a clearer plan, Luke steps back into the bustling, sunlit streets of Purewood with renewed determination. He realizes that his journey toward the Empire of Virencia will begin with the next step, traveling to Balmoral to find a group or opportunity for further travel. With Father Wingate's map in hand and the friendly woman's advice echoing in his mind, Luke resolves to embrace his new life and work hard to earn enough to reach his ultimate goal. Each step he takes along these vibrant streets fills him with hope that, despite the challenges ahead, he is finally on the path to uncovering the truth about his past and building a future in this extraordinary world. Luke realized he had overlooked a crucial detail: earning money. He had been so focused on reaching Virencia that he hadn't thought about how he would fund his journey. Embarrassed to return to the tavern so soon, he wandered the city until he found himself in front of the barracks. The sounds of men training piqued his interest, and he followed the noise to the training field. Knights were engaged in rigorous exercises, vaulting onto tigers, performing somersaults, and scaling walls. Amidst the disciplined chaos, Luke spotted Sir Carrick and approached him. The knight greeted him warmly and inquired about his presence. Luke expressed his desire to earn money, and Sir Carrick, after some consideration, introduced him to Eamon, an elderly man responsible for maintaining the knight's equipment. Eamon welcomed Luke and assigned him the task of cleaning and oiling weapons and armor. As they worked, they conversed about life in Purewood, Eamon's past as a knight, and Luke's intentions to journey to Virencia. Luke shared that he sought Saint Cynthia, believing she might have answers about his lost memories. Eamon, while supportive, warned Luke that the answers one seeks aren't always the ones they find. The task, though monotonous, gave Luke a sense of accomplishment. Eamon was impressed with his diligence and sent him to Sir Carrick to discuss his payment. As Luke walked through the barracks, he stumbled upon a sparring match between Sir Carrick and Gareth. To Luke's surprise, Gareth, despite his healing leg, was actively participating. He fought with calculated caution, favoring his injury, while Sir Carrick, wielding his wooden sword with one hand, engaged him with playful yet measured strikes. The knights surrounding the ring cheered and bantered, their camaraderie evident. The duel was light-hearted but intense. Gareth teased Sir Carrick about his age, while Carrick countered with remarks about Gareth's inexperience. Eventually, Carrick landed a hit on Gareth's injured leg, marking his victory. Though defeated, Gareth smiled, shaking Carrick's hand in mutual respect. As the crowd dispersed, Sir Carrick noticed Luke and called him over. He informed Luke that he would confirm his work with Aemon and, if satisfactory, might offer him more tasks in the future. Luke followed him, knowing that this was just the first step in his journey. He had found purpose in this new world, and with determination, he was ready to carve his own path. Luke received his pay from Sir Carrick, a couple of silver shillings, after a day's work cleaning knightly equipment. As he pocketed the coins, he realized he needed to understand the currency system better. Wanting to share some new findings, he decided to visit Gareth and inform him about his travel options. Since there were no direct parties heading to Virencia, his best bet was a group leaving for Balmoral in 3 months. Arriving at Gareth's room, Luke found him half-dressed, inspecting his wound. Despite being recently injured, Gareth had already been sparring with Sir Carrick earlier, his wound healing faster than expected. Luke shared the news about the caravan, and Gareth agreed that while it wasn't Virencia, it was a good start. He advised Luke to be well prepared for the journey ahead. Taking the chance to ask about money, Luke learned that 100 bronze shillings equaled a silver one, while 50 silver shillings made up a gold piece. A silver shilling could pay for a night at an inn, whereas a gold one was enough for a fine tiger or a week's rent. This revelation left Luke astonished, especially since Gareth had generously given him a gold shilling before. Feeling guilty, Luke offered to return it, but Gareth reassured him it was a gift, meant to help him. Luke promised to use it wisely. Before leaving, Luke questioned why Gareth wasn't resting more, considering his injury. Gareth explained that staying idle would dull his skills, constant training was necessary for a knight. This struck a chord with Luke, who realized he had neglected his own practice. Inspired by Gareth's determination, he retrieved his briefcase filled with magic tricks, remembering how deeply magic was tied to his identity. Returning to the cathedral, Luke was welcomed by Father Wingate and Sister Maria. He shared that he had earned some money at the barracks, which pleased them. After excusing himself, he went to the boys' room, ensuring his briefcase was safely hidden before counting his earnings. With 7 silver shillings and 1 gold, he knew it wasn't nearly enough for his journey to Virencia. Determined to save and work harder, he resolved to find more opportunities. As the boys returned, Luke joined in their conversations and laughter, feeling a sense of belonging. They were curious about his day, and he shared his experience at the barracks, earning their admiration. Later that night, he entertained them with magic tricks, their excitement reminding him of why he had once loved performing. Lying in bed, Luke reflected on his journey ahead. The path to Virencia would be long and uncertain, but he was prepared to face it. With his passion for magic reignited, a growing sense of camaraderie, and a clear goal in mind, he knew he was taking the right steps. Tomorrow was a new day, and he was ready for whatever challenges it might bring.
That's it for today. For the full story, check out the complete novel on Comic Demon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.